Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst, Fox college basketball analyst. Always great to talk to Jim. All right, as a fan, the most heartbreak that you've ever felt in your life was when what happened?
My son missed a shot in the Final Four against Kentucky to go to the championship game. The first year they went, I forget what year it was, with the Wisconsin team with Frank Kaminsky and those guys. That right there was it. And I had to do, it was funny. After the game, I was working for the Big Ten Network, and I had to actually interview him after the game. Yeah, he's talking about some emotions, man. It was a great moment, in regards to capturing the moment. But you know, I can deal with my disappointment because that's something I can control a little bit more. But when it's your child and you watch that, and then that happens, it's something different, man.
Okay, but can you separate yourself from being dad to being a broadcaster doing your job to ask your son about the shot that he missed?
Oh, no doubt, because I covered him from his freshman year, and the Big Ten Network actually took me off of his games, but I would do studio. We would do the Big Ten championships, and I would interview him. But I always said this, that whether it's a personal relationship or a child or a sibling, to me, it's if you allow the game to dictate what you talk about, then you don't have an issue. Now, you may be able to provide a little bit more insight on a particular player because you have more personal knowledge. But as long as you let the game dictate what you talk about and not make it personal, I don't really see it. I never had an issue with it.
I wonder if the NBA has a scoring problem, that there's too
Well, I mean,
much
like too
scoring.
much.
Yeah. Is it possible to have too much scoring in the NBA?
No, I mean, you had that in the 70s. You had some high scoring, going on in the 70s. So, and I think it's the rules itself. Even in the 70s, it was physical, but guys scored the ball. I mean, I think that was the difference. The rules were a lot different in regards to the physicality, but yet there were outlier teams like the Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, back in those days, that would score a lot of points. Okay. Today, you know, David Stern late, Adam Silver, late 90s, talked about it, about Kevin Garnett, talked about, what Steph does, that they needed to change it up a little bit more, freedom of movement. And now I think it's gone. We've gone to a point where it was not enough freedom of movement to way over the arch a little bit more to now, as if you want a defensive player, a guy that really wants to make a name for himself. It's tough to do that in the league today because of the rules.
Yeah, nobody's really locking somebody down. It used to be like Gary Payton was the glove.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody comes in and like they have a nickname like that.
Well, no, because then it wasn't as much in regards to switching defenses because size did matter in regards to those switches. Okay. When you played the pick and roll, you got over the top, you trapped it a little bit, big guy got back. Um, you didn't switch small to big a lot, maybe guard to guard sometimes, forward to guard a little bit. But for the most part, you really did play a little bit more one-on-one defense with an individual. And trust me, I know I had to guard Michael Jordan a lot, so that wasn't always fun. But it was a challenge, especially against some of the better players in the league that for the majority of the game, you would get an opportunity to match up against them. Now it's so easy when the screen comes, oh, just switch it.
Yeah.
Just switch it. And you don't get penalized sometimes for it. Now, teams will try to identify the weakest link in the defense, but then the way the rules are too with the switching, a little bit of zone defense, you can shift over a little bit more and kind of take that away at some point, sometimes, not all the time.
I don't know if you heard Jason Kidd talking about Luka Doncic, that he's already better than Dirk, and you can put him in the atmosphere with Kobe and LeBron and Michael. Which
talent wise,
scoring.
that's what you say. Yeah, scoring, not from a winning perspective. Now, again, it took Mike, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, 8 years to be able to really start to win and win big.
Yeah.
We forget about that. Dirk a little bit later. Dirk was a late bloomer in regards to his body. And again, the game was more physical. He played on the post a little bit more as his career progressed. Remember, Dan, that's when he started to move out a little bit more, play on the wing, play on the free throw line extended. So that's the difference. Kobe had to go through his learning process early. Okay. The only person like LeBron and Michael, when he first came in the league, he was able to go. Kobe wasn't able to go. He had to learn it. He had to go through that Utah series when he shot the air ball. He had to go through that. Luka came right in and was kind of anointed, which from his perspective, he was talented enough to be able to do that at 18 years old. Dirk wasn't at that time when he came into the league. So I can see the comparison is why at this stage of their career, yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I just wonder why put that out there that you're putting him in. I know as the coach you want to compliment your player.
Yeah.
I think there's enough pressure on Luka because he's going to get to that point just like Embiid. Hey, Embiid's won these MVPs. You haven't won a title. We did that to the Joker. Hey, you won MVPs. You didn't win a title. Now he's won a title. Giannis, we did that to him. Luka's next in line too, where we're going to go, okay, you're getting 73 in a game, but is your team going to be playing for a championship anytime soon?
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. How was the question posed and why did Jason talk about that? I mean, I think context is key with that too.
I don't know what the question was, but
yeah. I don't know if Jason just offered that. It had to be some contextual background to why that he gave that answer at that time.
We'll see if we can find what that question was. We're talking to Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst here. But 70 points in a game, it's not that big a deal anymore.
No, it's not. Now you can't take that away from the individual because you still got to make some baskets. You still got to get to the free throw line. You still got to do all those little things to be able to score the ball. But if that was, let's say, 2002, and you scored 73, I mean, it would be everywhere. It would. But now when you have 73, and then you have Devin Booker scoring 62 in the same night, kind of what happened, who was it, when Embiid scored 70 and Karl Anthony Towns scored 62, 63.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. But, and again, as a basketball player, you don't want to take away from the individual for what he did, but the game allows you. It's like right now, you're a big football fan. Back in the day, you don't think Joe Montana, those Troy Aikman wanted to pass the ball 30 times, 40 times? Think about their career numbers and where they would be.
Yeah.
So that's why when I get into comparing numbers and stats, it's skewed because Larry Bird shot 1 or 2 3-pointers a game compared to Steph, and that's not taking anything away from Steph, but you got to put it in context. He's taking 8, 9, 10 a game. So his numbers are going to be extremely higher in regards to makes and attempts. So that's why it's a little bit tougher. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who is the most unguardable player in the NBA right now?
The most unguardable. Embiid.
Okay.
And I say Embiid from Jokic's perspective, Jokic and Embiid, from a different perspective. Jokic doesn't hunt shots. He just beats you. And I think Michael Malone and the Nuggets do an outstanding job of moving him around the board like a chess piece. So you just can't say, okay, we're going to take him away from the right block or left block or put him at the elbow. And he's everywhere. He'll bring it up the court, and then make a play. So stopping him from doing what? Being very effective, not just scoring. See, sometimes Embiid struggles when we get into the playoffs, scoring-wise. They put a smaller guy on him. Why? Because now when you come to help, it's a big that comes to help. So that double team is different. With Jokic, I don't care what you do. He can beat you by having the triple-double and only have 18 points. That, to me, is unguardable because you can't take away everything that makes he and his team so effective.
Okay, but the most unstoppable scorer that this guy could put up 81 points in a game.
Oh, Embiid, you can't stop him.
Okay.
You cannot stop Embiid. If he wants to get to a spot, if he wants to post you up, he's going to get to the free throw. You can't. It's no physical matchup in the league that can take away if he's really determined if he wants to put the ball in the hoop. Nobody. Because unlike Giannis, he can step out and knock down the three, shooting like 37% from 3-point line. He shoots plus 80% from the free throw line. Well, I mean, what are you going to take away? If he's really determined and the team is really determined to get him the ball, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't stop it.
LeBron had an interesting comment after last night's loss, and
You think?
I'll let you, I'll let you hear it. What is he saying in this passive aggressive message?
We could, on any given night, beat any team in the NBA. And then on any given night, we get our ass kicked by any team in the NBA. That's just what's our record?
One game under 500 is what we've seen.
Under 500?
One game under 500.
Yeah, 24-25? That's where we are.
Okay. Who is he sending that message to, Jim?
I like the point he said, "What's our record?" He already knew it. It was a rhetorical question. Then he gave him the answer right after 24-20. He already knew the answer. You know what I mean? It's like and this is what I caution always though. Digging into a mind of a player and what they actually think, because it's so different, especially that caliber of player on everything that he's been through. And I caution people a lot of times because you think they mean one thing and they're saying something else. Now, LeBron is great at giving subliminal messages, okay, across the board. We know that throughout the course of his career. So there's a history there. And sometimes you're sitting back, okay, what is he really trying to say?
Yeah.
Without saying it. You know, Kobe would just say it. He'll tell you, okay, this is what I'm saying. Mike was like that in some ways. Charles was like that. Charles would tell you in a heartbeat. You remember that. That's why he's so good on TNT and TV. LeBron is a little bit different. I don't know if he was saying it from, not, it is truth in that, on, like, they beat us with the Clippers twice. Okay, you can beat some of the best teams like they did Golden State. That double overtime was fantastic. But then you come back and lose. But I think that goes to the inconsistency of the team and the roster, too, on where they're at this particular place of the season. He's probably frustrated about it, too.
Do you think he ends his career with the Lakers?
Well, I thought he would end his career in Cleveland. I mean, what do I know? From that perspective, because of what he, valued the most in regards to Cleveland. And again, that's why it's hard for me, because at that elite level, Dan, we don't see that a lot. I mean, I don't care if it's football, baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever it is, track and field, Olympic sports, they think different, man. It's a different mindset. And for him to be able to perform the way he's performing at this age and leaving a legacy, would I be surprised? No. But there's only, I think, as he gets deeper into closer to 40, you got a limited amount of teams that really would take on LeBron James because of the gravity that he brings. And now he's an older player. That was when he was 33, different story. The market is not going to be the same for a 40-year-old LeBron James as it is for a 33.
Well, it's like Bill Belichick, factoring in his age and what he would want, and it scares away teams, I believe. And LeBron would probably scare too.
Did you think the market for Bill Belichick was robust when that happened with New England, or did you say to yourself, you really don't have a lot of options? What did you think?
I didn't think that he would only have one interview, but I think he focused on the Falcons, and that's where he knew that he had a team that had underachieved, and he could make them better quicker. I didn't think the other teams. I thought Washington might interview him, just because he grew up in the proximity, Annapolis, Maryland. That might be it, but it's like Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's probably not going to get a job, and he's a really good coach. Pete Carroll is not going to get a job this year. It's just, we're seeing. I mean, this all happened, and you throw in Nick Saban. It was such a crazy week or two where these coaches were getting fired, not hired, or retiring, and they may not get hired anytime soon.
Well, I mean, with Bill, too, you think about it, Cleveland, fired, not successful. But you got to New England, you had a great owner, you drafted great. Tom Brady ended up being one of the greatest quarterbacks, maybe the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. So that worked perfectly for that time period. And as you age out in sports, or that's age out in business, the reason why they put retirements in at a certain period of time. Your market value is not the same. And it's unfortunate, but did Bill want more control too from the front office perspective? Maybe Atlanta was a team he looked at and said, not only could I have control from a coaching perspective, but in the front office also have that control. And a lot of teams I know weren't willing, just talking to a lot of football guys I know, weren't willing to give that up.
Oh, there's
and
no
didn't see that
question.
value.
There's no question that he would want to go in and be Bill Belichick and run the organization. And, I think that's where these other, franchises probably didn't want to, they weren't entertaining that either. So I don't know. I think he takes 1 year off, does TV, and then maybe you get Philadelphia. They fire their head coach, Nick Sirianni, if they don't go to the conference title game. If the Cowboys don't go to the conference title game, Mike McCarthy's last year, I could see that. Before I let you go, here was the question. How much of that performance by Luka was a reaction to the criticism he got after the Suns game, the thing with the fan, or was it just one of those crazy, wild nights? So
I would say a combination, because Luke is sensitive from the perspective of listen. You got rabbit ears. You hear and see everything. Today you can't. In today's world with social media and everything, you can't get away with it. Don't say that you don't listen. You don't. I don't know. It's impossible. It is, whether that's somebody telling you that or you pop open your X feed or Instagram, whatever it may be. You're gonna hear it. Local, whatever it is. So whether that the fuel to the fire was the fact that now it's a lot easier for players to get fans ejected. Back when we were playing, we had hecklers all the time. Remember Robert? What was Rob, the attorney's name in D.C.? Oh, what was Robert's?
Robin Ficker?
Ficker. Oh, he would sit right behind the bench. He wouldn't say anything racial, but he was classic, and you couldn't get rid of him until something happened. It was one in Cleveland. I think it was one in Detroit. It was unreal. Unbelievable.
Okay, but how personal are they getting with you?
No, one time, Quinn Buckner drawing up a play, and he's in the back. He said, Emmy Jackson, Amal Mashburn, Ace and Kidd, I don't know why you playing. None of y'all got any J's. Saying stuff like that. And he will hold up a chalkboard behind. Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then at some point you look forward to actually seeing and listening to what he's going to say. But, I think Luka, he's at that point of his career too, where the Mavericks have been in between. They got to Western Conference Finals. Okay. Can you get over the top?
Yeah.
And it seems like we don't talk about Dallas, but because of the roster construction, especially in the Western Conference, it makes it more difficult to put him in that conversation because he hasn't won yet. But he's been to the Western Conference Final.
It's great to talk to you as always.
Always, man. Hey, listen, can you send me some of that concoction?
You want some moonshine?
That peppermint bark, you don't get that in Zanesville, bro. It don't grow there, bro.
I'm maybe salted caramel. Give you some of that. Wasn't that your nickname? Was that your nickname at Ohio State, salted caramel?
Not salted caramel. All close though. It was. Listen, but you make sure I can pair it with a nice cigar. You got to make sure I can pair it with a nice cigar. If I can do that, moonshine it is.
Well, maybe I'll send it to Jordan too because he loves his cigars as well. Did you ever have a cigar with Jordan?
Think I didn't? Oh man, that's how I got into cigars.
Oh, okay. Because Mike.
Because Ron Harper, during their second three-peat, I used to go to Chicago with him, and they would do it. Mike used to smoke on the way to the game.
In his Ferrari?
Which one?
Yeah, I remember seeing Mike pull up, at the Chicago Stadium in his car, and he would get out, and he would have a cigar going. He'd be having his suit on, having a cigar.
Must be nice, bro.
Yeah, living the life. Thank you, buddy. Good to talk to you again.
Always, man.
That's Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst and Fox College basketball analyst.